I got two.
Okay, we all set? Everyone set?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. If everyone could please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray.
Present.
Trustee Caprio.
Present.
Trustee Suisse. Present. Trustee Pazmino.
Present.
Trustee Backel.
Present.
Mayor Yukich.
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to take item J1 and 2 and move those up to just below the approval for the amendments, item D.
I'll second that.
I'll second that, Keith.
All in favor?
Aye.
So you're doing J1 and J2?
Yes, sir. Yes, for the minutes. That's okay.
Okay. J1.
With you?
Is there a motion to approve a proclamation designing March as Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month?
I so motion.
I'll second.
Backel, Trustee Caprio. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Backel.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse. Trustee Caprio.
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Brock, you've got the...
Yes, you'd like us to do the presentation now? Thank you.
You too?
Thank you, Mayor. It's a very special night tonight, and so happy to see so many smiling faces. It's really nice. I first met Christina in 2015, and special needs was always one of her passion. And I learned very early that saying no to Christina was a losing battle. Life is much easier with a nod and a smile. With that being said, I have a prepared statement. If there's a need, what should stop you from meeting that need? And if that need is one of compassion, do you hesitate? After meeting Gus for the first time in the arms of Dan at a fundraiser, I didn't see a boy that was in braces. Instead, I saw a proud father with joy in his heart and a smile on his face. And when I saw Ashlyn for the first time in the arms of Chris, I did not see a small girl with a disability. In both of these families, I saw a mother and a father blessed by Lord with a gift that heals. And in both of these children, I saw the strength that only love can give. Parents of a special need child are themselves special. Do not tell them no. This they will not accept. They've already been told no, and they found the inner strength to say yes in a bold way. They themselves are givers. They see a challenge and they conquer. I see two strong, bold women of vision. We may see challenges ahead, however, they see only opportunity. We see mountains and they see valleys. It took a 30-second conversation with Christina to convince me that I needed to push this project forward. It took a 5-minute conversation with Nicole to understand her passion. Both of these strong women will do great things for our residents with special needs. I am but one of many that helped push this committee to be founded, but make no mistake, it will be Christina and Nicole, along with their team, that will paint bright colors on this bright canvas. Mayor Yukich, with your permission, I'd like to ask Jim Crones to read the Autistic Proclamation. Jim has a autistic son named Jameson.
Absolutely fine.
Jim, can you come forward, please? Evan Schneider, would you please come forward? Evan has autism and is a sign, and he's going to sign for Jim as he reads.
This is a designation of April as Autism Awareness Month in the village of Homer Glen. Whereas autism spectrum disorder is a pervasive development disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skill of all those affected by it. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control estimates that 1 in every 54 children and adults in the United States are among the more than 2 million Americans living with an autism spectrum disorder. And whereas there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, if often as possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas by age 2, a diagnosis is experienced by a diagnosis by an experienced professional can be considered very reliable. However, many children do not receive a final diagnosis until they are much older. This delay means that children with autism might not get the early help they need. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community sports support services to ensure their health and safety and to support their families' resilience as they manage the psychological and financial burdens autism presents. And whereas autism is a reality that affects millions of families every day, and while our nation has made progress in supporting those with autism, we are only beginning to understand the factors behind the challenges they face. And whereas each person should have the opportunity to live full, independent lives and follow their talents wherever they lead. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen is forming an Ability Awareness Committee to promote awareness and advocate for an inclusive community to enhance the self-sufficiency and quality of life for all differently abled residents of Homer Glen. And now therefore be proclaimed by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that April is recognized as an Autism Awareness Month for the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, Evan. I'd first like to thank the village, especially Trustee Backel, for not only recognizing and understanding, but for actually listening and hearing the importance of this committee. This committee is not just about children, it's about everyone from birth to senior life. This committee includes everyone with all different types of abilities. Cerebral palsy, MS, autism, Asperger's, vision and hearing impaired, Down syndrome, epilepsy, dyslexia, muscular dystrophy, ADD, ADHD, and that's just to name a few. This committee is about unity, understanding, awareness, acceptance, and more. This committee will remind parents what they once feared after welcoming their brand new baby into this world is actually another parent's reality. This is usually where I lose it. When I first became a mother, I counted my daughter's fingers and toes. I didn't take into consideration some parents were counting chromosomes. I never imagined when I had my second child, I would be counting fingers and toes, have to quickly understand what periventricular white matter lesions meant and learn medical terms like corpus callosum, spastic diplegic, and clonus. I sure the heck wasn't prepared to hear a doctor say your son will never walk or talk. But clearly, he's beaten all those odds. I did not know what journey lied ahead, but there's one thing I knew for sure. I knew I loved my tour guide unconditionally. I never thought I would be living the poem, Welcome to Holland, by Emily Pearl Kingsling. And for those who don't understand that reference, I highly suggest you read their poem if you truly want to understand the importance of this committee in a day in my shoes. I never thought about how much playground mulch would be a challenge for a child with braces, or thought about how pushing a child in a shopping cart could be an impossible experience. I never put myself in the parent's shoes when I saw a caution child at play sign or the importance of handicapped bathrooms. Here's another realization I had to come to. While some parents are home cleaning their child's cleats and shining winning trophies, some parents are home sizing up AFOs and shining wheels of the wheelchair. Or how about when some families celebrate their child making honor roll while other families are celebrating their child sitting up for the first time? One of my goals on this committee will be to introduce understanding and acceptance for all families. It is important for parents to teach their children to accept others for who they are and for what they are not. This committee will only succeed with the community efforts. When I say community, I mean the entire community. We need to work together. I will also tell you one thing this committee is not. This committee is not about divide. This committee is not asking for special treatment. We may ask for a special event once or twice, but we also want to be included. We are asking for acceptance, inclusion, understanding, and support. Many special needs families also have children who are considered typical. We do not wish for one child to be treated differently from the other. We only ask for everyone of all ages, all shapes, and all different abilities to be treated equally with understanding that everyone is not born the same. So here we are, 2021, the year of understanding and conclusion. It is time to work together and build each other up. I'd like to thank Nikki Laha for her shopping cart initiative, which the community will learn more about once the committee is established, and also for being a huge advocate for special needs parents everywhere. Thank you to Trustee Rogers, who's not here today, for her numerous donations to Shady Oaks and your other donations to special needs charities. Thank you to Trustee Caprio and Trustee Gray for always working hard for making Special Needs Day at Homer Fest something truly special. Thank you to Trustee Suisse, Trustee Backel, Mayor Yukich, and Manager Freiling for always checking in to see how you can help and what is this next best step. Thank you to PCA Chair and Homer Stallions for recognizing the importance of including all children in sports, and Ruby Agave and Ruben Pazmino, the Megaplex, for all stepping up and taking the initiative to promise to assist in the Special Needs Committee wherever we need to succeed. I'd like to thank the Village Board and staff for making this happen, and a special thank you to all the residents here tonight supporting this new committee in its new journey towards inclusion. Mayor Yukich, with your permission, I would like to invite Nikki Laha up to read the Cerebral Palsy Proclamation.
Come on up, Nikki.
Nikki Laha, will you please come up and read the proclamation?
I feel like I need to. Right. Designation of March as Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen. Whereas cerebral palsy is a group of disorders that affects the normal movement of different parts of the body and has as many degrees of severity. And whereas cerebral means having to do with the brain and palsy, meaning weakness or problems with using the muscles that is caused by abnormal brain development or damage to the developing brain that affects a person's ability to control his or her muscles. And whereas cerebral palsy is the most common motor disability in childhood, which affects posture, gait, muscle control, and coordination of movement. And whereas 1 in 345 children in the United States have been identified with cerebral palsy. And whereas every child who has cerebral palsy has a unique combination of strengths and challenges. And whereas over 1 million people in the US are living with cerebral palsy. And whereas diagnosing cerebral palsy at an early age is important to the well-being of children and their families. And whereas there is no cure for cerebral palsy, but there is treatment that can help both children and adults live a full life. Whereas the Village of Homer Glen is forming an Ability Awareness Committee to promote awareness and advocate for an inclusive community, to enhance the self-sufficiency and quality of life for all differently abled residents of Homer Glen. And whereas the village encourages the wearing of green during the month of March to raise awareness for Cerebral Palsy Month and Cerebral Palsy Day on March 25th. And now, therefore, be it proclamated by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that March is recognized as Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois. Dated this 24th day of March 2021. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
Mayor, if I could just add one more thing, please, and thank you. So I'd like to wrap this up with one little friendly community-to-community challenge. I invited Mayor Tim Balderman here tonight from New Lenox to accept or deny a challenge.
You got to come up.
You got to come up here.
There's no denying.
And as you've heard, you can't tell me no. So, I, Christina Knightsky-Troike, and the community of Homer Glen challenge you, Mayor Tim Balderman, and the community of New Lenox to a pop tab collection war starting today. Whichever town collects the most pop tabs by July 1st will be deemed the pop tab collection winner. The winning community will select one special needs family from their community to go to Disney World, up to $5,000 paid for by Walt Kono at Kono's Farm in Zachary's Red Barn. All tabs collected will be donated to the Ronald McDonald House once the challenge is complete. Do you accept this challenge?
Do I have a choice?
No.
I gladly, looking around the room and seeing so much great community support, we gladly accept the challenge, and we're not going to go lightly. You just have to
Okay,
know that.
challenge is on. We'll see you in July.
Absolutely. I just have to tell you, last Tuesday, Christina said, hey, can you come to the board meeting Wednesday? There's something I want to challenge your community on. I said, well, I'm having a pacemaker put in, which I did last Wednesday. And she goes, oh, no, I mean next Wednesday, so you'll be there, right? So here I am. It's ticking. I'm doing well, and
Good,
it's on.
I'm glad.
You've got a wonderful village here. Congratulations on your committee. It's outstanding, your proclamations, and we're here to support you in every step of the way.
Thank
We're glad
you.
to be your neighbor.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so we don't go out of order.
Yeah.
A motion to approve the proclamation designing March as Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month.
So move.
With Trustee Caprio.
Yes.
So I need Christine to call the roll.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pezmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next. Next would be the consent agenda.
Nope.
Are we going up to,
Autism one.
well, I did do J2 already. I did J1.
It's minutes now. It's minutes now.
We're going to do the autism. We want to do the cerebral palsy twice.
Technically, he read the proclamation twice for cerebral palsy.
We need a vote on the second.
We need a vote for the
The
autism.
cerebral palsy one?
We did cerebral palsy, we need to do autism.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to approve a proclamation designating April as Autism Awareness Month?
I so move.
Second.
Any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number, this one next. Okay, so here's minutes. Well, it's going to be, yes. Tonight, we have a special presentation as part of our community food drive for the Lockport Fish Food Pantry. The village's food drive has been extended to April 6th, so there still is plenty of time to shop and then to donate at Village Hall. I would like to introduce Michelle Tomick from Marion Village and David Freedy of Homer Glen resident, a volunteer with the Lockport Fish Food Pantry. Michelle is presenting David with a check for $1,000 to help support the food drive. David plans on taking the check to Homer Glen Meyer at one of its upcoming double donation days, and we want to thank you very much for all your support. So, Dave, you want to come up, and Michelle, would you like to come up?
You know, we can't.
Wow.
It's not 1,000, it's 1,300.
Nice.
If you'd like, we can take a 5-minute break right now before we get back into this, because my notes were kind of jockeyed all over, so I'm trying to figure out where I'm at. So we'll take a 5-minute rest or break if anyone wants to use the washroom or they want to get something to drink, and then we'll continue. Thank you. Well, you know what? I was trying to do it to where I could pull this one out, then all of a sudden I realized it was backwards. No.
I think what Tyler said, to make sure to try to talk to
Like this?
Do you want to read the budget?
You're welcome.
You can read the budget.
You read the first one, but they approved the second one. Or you read the second one about autism, and then they approved the first one.
Well,
and then
Christine was supposed to go first.
yeah.
You know, I like my papers organized, and then all of a sudden I go, wait, that's not good.
Just when Christina says something, she comes back over. What now? Just what now?
How are you?
After you, madame.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
How do we do applause? Bobby, how do we do applause?
Nice to meet you, Mayor.
Same here. You did a very good job up there.
Oh, thank you.
No nerves. You did wonderful.
I heard there might be a Culver's or something coming to Homer Glen.
There is a Culver's coming to home as well.
What's the other agreement? That's Plus, right?
Yeah. Well, they haven't built that building. They started. They started moving the dirt.
What about Meyer? Meyer owns it here, right?
Meyer's here right now.
There's also Chipotle too, and Starbucks, right?
Chipotle and Starbucks is on Bell Road.
I think you did a wonderful job.
Oh, yeah, that would be good. How about the Target?
You know what? They've got one in Lamont that's pretty close. And they don't want to build one of those big boxes.
You know what?
What about a movie theater?
You can put one up there, but then you also have the one in order.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? You guys should have a park district.
We're going to start right after we get, we're going to start a park district.
You know what? He would win too.
We've been talking about that. We're trying. As for a pool, but we do kind of put in a water park to where they can go in and water.
What about like a hotel?
We're working on it.
Oh, which one? Yeah, that was
We talked to Hampton.
What about a Holiday Inn?
Well, he might have to get it approved.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the other side of the highway.
What if there was a Hampton Inn?
I don't know the name.
That would be wonderful.
What about Portillo's?
So do economic director.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, yeah, I know that place. Nice to meet you, Mayor.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You were really confident. You pissed him off, so who brought it?
We said we were going to bring in. That's right for the first week. No, that's not going to happen. I didn't know. I didn't know trucks go. And then we're going to
Yeah, that's so nice. Oh, yeah, there was a lot of food involved. That was nice. Yeah, for sure. You know, you're just, you learn so much from them. Like, it's not the training you're doing. Yeah, exactly, that's right. Thanks,
Thank you.
We missed him. That's the real, and so I turned, what was turned? How's it going? What are you guys doing? So, like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Nice job.
he goes, that's so good. Yeah, that's what he told me. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, but. How are you? Yeah, not that I'm aware of, but I drag race? What are you talking about? Oh, I don't have those. How did I see it? It was right in the middle of the tent.
Let's say hi here.
It's the Prados, huh? Well, I don't know what the welcome wagon was.
What? I'm not, though. I'm not losing anything. I'm like plateau. Gina, Gina is too much because you have my gold anymore. And I'm telling you, my nose is maybe it's just I'm like all my fat cells are shrinking. Oh, no, I doubt it. No. You don't have to if you just you're out. Yeah, I know, but you don't have to put it in, but then you just don't win that round. Yeah. Yeah, I got but I'm really trying hard to just watch what I eat. Get my steps in. Like today, well today's not so good. I only got 5,500 steps. And I've been riding the bike at night. Yeah, I put it in my living room. Because I got it at Goodwill for $15. Can't beat that. You know? Huh? Yeah, it's an exercise bike. $15 at Goodwill. You should have seen me huffing that thing in the back of my daughter's car. I wasn't sure it was going to fit. Yeah, and it's a Schwinn, one of those aerodynamic Schwinns. So I thought, you know what, if I put it in the living room in the corner, when I'm watching TV at night, you just get on it and you're not even thinking about what you're doing because you're watching TV. So that's what I've been, and it's one of those things you got to work your arms. That's great. You know? That's awesome. See, I have a sleeveless dress for my daughter's wedding. I just don't want to have big arms. I just want my arms to have some tone to them. You told me yesterday, I left 50. Stacey, I have an HR complaint. So I have an HR complaint file against him. Yesterday, I left 15 minutes early.
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to leave 15 minutes early. Because
Okay, let me just get my things in order. So I did the proclamation. Yep.
like it's hard to go into his head.
Thank you. That's next. Diane?
Who?
Okay. All right, we're going to call the meeting back in order. Next would be approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2020 Village Board meeting?
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
I'll second.
Sweet. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'm going to start off with the trustees today. Trustee Gray.
Mixed it up, you caught me off guard. Mayor, I don't have any official report tonight, but I just want to point out that tonight is the last official meeting that we will have with our very wonderful village manager, Carrie Freiling, and I'd just like to wish her all the best. It's been great working with her for 2 years. She's one of the most professional women I've ever met in my life. She's done a great job around here, bringing us up to a next level. I know we'll go beyond that. And I wish her well in her future endeavors. And I'm going to cut it off there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree 100%.
Here, here.
Trustee Beckel.
I have nothing to report this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Caprio.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting on behalf of the Homerfest Committee, we're still in the final planning stages of the Homerfest. We do plan on having a full-blown festival this year. We don't have alternate plans. We are making arrangements, though, to be at least COVID aware. Want to just some of the highlights. We'll have Thursday, the flyover and fireworks, special needs day on Friday. Saturday, we have bands, and we're working with the Glen Heritage Corridor Business Alliance to actually have them showcase some of their businesses and do some fun things with us this year. So a little bit different, adding a few things, and we're working with some of the residents in Glen to potentially add some additional features this year. More to come as we progress in the planning stages. Other than that, I have nothing more to report. And Carrie, thank you for doing a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure to work with you the last year, and I wish you very well in your future. I know you'll do just fine, and you'll be a tough person to replace, but we'll move on as a village, and you've taught us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Caprio. Trustee Suisse.
No report, Mayor, but I would like to wish Carrie all the best in the future, her future endeavor, and good luck.
And Trustee Pasmino.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say thank you to Christina and to Brock for bringing these committees together. I think this is very important, but more I want to bring together, and I want to thank the citizens and the community for coming together, because you create this. This is you. So I want to actually applaud you guys for coming in and supporting these activities. Thank you. Also, I wish a farewell to Manager Freeling. You supported us greatly, and I have a whole list of things to say. I don't want to be cliche, but I wish you very well, and I'm sure you'll do great anywhere you go. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next would be Village Clerk.
I've said enough tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
You sure?
I'm sure. Well, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm good.
Village Attorney.
No report, Your Honor, but Carrie, you will be missed.
Thank you.
Public Safety Officials.
Sorry, Your Honor, no report.
And last but not least, Village Manager.
I just want to thank the mayor and the village board members for an incredible last 2 years. It's been fun. It's been really enjoyable. I want to thank the staff, amazing staff. You guys are all awesome. Continue to do what you do. I cannot wait to see all the great things that are going to happen here. Keith and I'm volunteering at the fest, so you and I are going to be in the ticket booth, okay? And I'll stop in and say hi every once in a while. So best of luck and thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now it's my turn. I have a few things I would like to read into the minutes. There's a couple things over the last few months that have been bad, and now it seems like the closer it gets to the election, it gets a little bit worse. It's very unfortunate, instead of just running a clean election and not bad-mouthing everybody, not bullying anyone, and telling the truth. And lately, that's just not what's been happening. I've had a lot of people coming up to me and asking me, what happened to the ballot? And I said, what do you mean? She says, why are there separations in parties? Well, there's always been kind of a separation. They put down what they are. But in this case, it is a little bit different. A couple months ago, the Homer Township Republican Party Chairman Steve Bowlich chose to bypass the township's normal primary election, which would allow parties of the same political group to run up against each other. Furthermore, Bowlich changed bylaws and required the candidates choosing to run for office could only do so if they ran on a slate which would include a total of 19 candidates. Individuals could not run under the Republican name individually at the caucus. The caucus is something that he brought before the village. He picked 9 people, then he had 47 people in there voting, and they decided they were going to pull in these 9 people. Well, to me, that's absolutely wrong, because we all have a right to vote for who we want, not for someone else what they want. But individuals could not run under the Republican name at the caucus. The caucus was held at the height of the pandemic, and other than normal posting requirements by the clerk, Bowlich failed to advertise the caucus on any of his many social media sites. 53 people, mostly friends and family of the Bowlich slate, nominated the Republican Party to run for office. Then you have multiple erroneous postings that are being presented to the residents of Homer Glen and Lockport via Facebook postings. I encourage citizens to disregard these inaccurate statements and reach out to the appropriate representatives where verifiable factual information can be obtained. For the sake of our community, please do not enlist these postings as truth. Last one for this. It's no mystery that the township and the village are at odds over the road district. However, perhaps this deserves further explanation. Recently, both entities have been accused of backdoor deals. Nothing could be further from the truth. Perhaps hard to believe by some of the township and the village have a genuine mutual respect for one another. In fact, it is a respect that warrants each entity's support of one another for the upcoming election. There was one thing on Facebook that bothered me. It was put out there by one of Bowlich's people that's running for office. And I don't care that she's running. It's great. That's what we need. We need more people to run for office. But the problem is, you got to be able to stand up and tell the truth. And if something comes up, that they beat you up a little bit, get a little tougher skin. This isn't a walk in the park. This is hard. And we're not politicians. We're public servants here. So for the positive progress and the positive results, financial-wise for the village, 4 years of operating budget surpluses. In 2020, we became debt-free, saving $500,000 in interest to early repayment, $1 million in grants for capital projects and Heritage Park, certification and achievement of excellence in financing reporting, which has been going on for how many years now?
We will submit for our 20th award in June or July.
Well, that tells me right there that we're doing something right. Created Village's first corporate sponsorship program for special events to save money and provide more events. Reduce senior citizens' rates for the garbage pickup. We are business friendly. 60 new businesses over the last 4 years, including 6 new ground-up buildings. $97,463,452 in private investments in the last 4 years. Commercial, $42,435,315, and residential, $55,028 or $55,028,137. New Homer Glen branding and wayfinding, 2 new corporate headquarter buildings, $100,000 in emergency COVID assistance to our local businesses, deferred prorated liquor and gaming license fees, waived all business license fees, expanded outdoor dining for local businesses, loosened temporary signage regulations for local businesses, rewrote the village's signage code to be more business friendly, joined private-public partnerships to bring the new Phoenix restaurant to the former Bonfire property, implementing online payment and submittals for permits, licenses, and programs. Heritage Park completed and opened. Project came in $1 million under the budget. 2 new neighborhood parks, Goodings Grove and Glenview Walk, 5 miles of new trails and pedestrian connections, 159th Street bike path completed. New disc golf course, over 35 special events, including new events for the season, 500% increase from 2017, Homer Fest and community fireworks, Lima Lima Art Show, 20th anniversary celebration, June 26th, Homer for the Holiday Lighting Spectacular, Santa Parade, Trunk and Treat, Spooky Park, Snowmen in the Park, Scarecrows in the Park, Tulips in the Park, Chalk It Up, Moves in the Park and Drive in Movie in the Park, Market in the Glen coming summer on Thursday nights, Food Truck Saturdays coming this season, 20th anniversary celebration, all spring and summer-long Veterans Day celebrations and care packages, along with stargazing. New programs for our residents, Heritage Park Walking Group, Yoga in the Park, Pickleball Clinics, Art in the Park, Disc Golf Clinic, tennis lessons, partnering with the Will County Forest Preserve, Wildflower Walk, getting your garden ready for spring, family bark ride, kids and nature programs, planting natives, gardening for monarchs, a $10,000 food pantry donation, and 2 community food drives. Co-host of the Veterans Day event and Veterans Care Basket donations. Senior Citizen Valentine Basket donation drive. Budgeted and approved monetarily assistance for the replacement of scoreboards on township property. E-waste curbside recycling approved, coming in July. Illinois Community Solar Program, coming this summer. Infrastructure investment. 1.42 miles of new water main construction for future development. 2.29 miles of new sanitary sewer main constructed for future development. 14 drainage projects completed and or underway, and our investment cost of $3.45 million. Purchase property for open lands, preservation for drainage improvements, Long Run Creek cleanup, joint and private public partnership, transfer of stewardship of village-owned roads from township to village. Public engagement and transparency, rated number 3 in Illinois for transparency by the Better Government Association. 150% increase in public connection on Facebook. Videotape all board meetings. Video or village board Zoom meetings due to COVID. New Comcast Channel 6. Virtual State of the Village. Village newsletters mailed to every home due to the demise of Homer Horizon. Public safety. 2019 rated number 1 safest place to live in Illinois by Movado. Installation of security cameras to promote public safety. Initiated public awareness signage programs throughout neighborhoods to reduce speeding. Updated emergency operation plans. Installation of stop signs for Crystal Lake Estates. These are just some of the things that we've done, and there's more than that. But this board that's before us right now has been being beat up for a long time now, and I've told all of them, don't fight back. Just let them say what they want to say. Because we're hoping that the residents of this village are smart enough to understand that we're not doing anything wrong. We are, I think, in my opinion, I think we're doing almost everything right. Can we improve in some places? Yeah, every time you can improve something. But when you read what's on Facebook, and fortunately I don't read Facebook. I just don't like it. But my kids do. And when my kids write it, the first thing they do is they call me and tell me, Dad, do you know what they said now? I won't tell you what I said to my kids. But it is ridiculous what you have out there. At one point they said, because me and Trustee Caprio both have a summer home, and she had said that Caprio's kids and my kids all drink together up at the lake and party. Well, at that time, my youngest, I think, was 18. My oldest was 26, but his youngest was 4 and goes up to 12, and right now it's what, 13, 14? So my daughter, who I was very surprised would say anything, called up the person that did it and called her out, and she said, well, I heard a rumor. My God, really? That's what you're going to base something on? Everyone that works up here works very hard. You don't understand how many hours go in this. This is basically a full-time job. And I hope that everyone out here sees what we are trying to do. We're not doing anything wrong. We're trying to make this the best village you possibly could have. We're always going out for businesses. We're trying to get as much commercial in here. We're trying to get this to where we can get the taxes down. Water, I can't make any promises because it's going to court. The court still has it. And we won't know probably for at least another month and a half. But the craziness over all this is if the other side right now is going to beat up everybody that's in here, what are you going to do when you get in office? You can't do that to the residents. There's going to be a lot of residents that call you and you're going to think, well, what are they bothering me for? They're bothering you because they put you in office to help them. And by God, that's what my board does. And I applaud every one of you guys because I'm very happy with what you guys do. So all I would want to do is just remember, before you vote, just think about what you're doing. If you have a question about anything, call us. If you don't want to call us, Facebook us. They'll answer it. I'm done. I'm going to get off my pulpit now. Next would be public comment. So first would be Nicole Laha. Or Nikki, did you already get what you wanted to say out? Or? No.
Well, in the spirit of us celebrating Cerebral Palsy Day, I'd like to say a few more things. My daughter Ashlyn was born 3 years ago, and she was a little over 2 months old when premature. The first 36 days of her life were spent in the NICU. Nothing can prepare you for seeing your tiny baby laying there in an incubator with breathing tubes and countless wires connected to them. It's devastating, and it takes your breath away. I hated those cords and all the noises of the monitors and the ventilators. I hated that I had to ask a stranger for permission to hold my child. I hated that I was scared to hold her. I hated the NICU, but I have no doubt that God lives in the NICU. On day 7, we received a phone call that would change our lives forever. I nearly fainted as I tried to process what the nurse was saying. Everything changed into slow motion. We were told that there were concerning areas on Ashlyn's brain scan, and they wanted to do an MRI in 13 days. We slowly crawled to that 13th day when they completed the MRI. We prayed the initial assessment was merely a mistake, but God had other plans, and it was confirmed that our daughter experienced a very specific type of brain damage in utero. It was the most painful news we had ever received. There was no escape, no relief, and no peace. Overwhelmed by this news, I literally felt physical pain for days. I had to fight to breathe. The attending doctor told us the damage was very bad and extensive. The neurologist expressed concerns whether or not Ashlyn would be blind and may never walk. We were told to wait and see how this would all manifest. Our wait and see day finally arrived 6 months later, and on March 1st of 2018, Ashlyn was officially diagnosed with quadriplegic cerebral palsy. Our mountain finally had a name. Here we are today after 4 major surgeries, countless hours of therapy, and endless doctor's visits. I am the proud mother of a cerebral palsy warrior princess. Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day was created to celebrate the lives and achievements of both those living with CP and the people who love and support them. It's to acknowledge the battles that they've lived through and the daily adversity they face. The goal of the day is to create a powerful voice for the CP community in order to enhance their influence and on the world and act as a catalyst for social changes. And it's a beautiful thing to see right here where I grew up. I'm also extremely proud to see the inauguration of the first Ability Awareness Committee and honored to serve as co-chair. This committee will not only promote awareness of the needs and concerns of citizens with different abilities, but also strive to cooperate with other committees, businesses, and residents to aid in the enrichment and independence of the differently abled community of Homer Glen. I'm personally committed to making sure that every person feels seen, heard, understood, included, and valued as a member of this community. Today is a beautiful day in Homer Glen. Thank you.
Andy Nyron.
Good evening. First things first, New Lenox doesn't stand a chance. Second of all, I hate public speaking, but I believe that we should do things that we're afraid of on the regular. Thanks to all of you for allowing me to share some of my personal experience with you, and especially Barack, Christine, and Nicole. I don't know you, but I'm sure I soon will. I'm grateful for all their hard work in setting up the Special Needs Committee and including the community in the discussion. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the entire special education team at Schilling, and especially Annette Jung and Elizabeth Madzidlo. They are my ambassadors of sanity, and our story will always include them. Please know that while this is our story, numerous families in our very own community have the same struggles and probably more. I want to be their voice tonight as well. 6 years ago tomorrow, we welcomed a beautiful boy into this world, and if I may, happy birthday, Jameson. You know, I got a platform, I'm gonna use it. It was rocky from the start. He was a difficult baby, and I missed out on all the joys of being a new parent because all he did was cry when he wasn't eating or sleeping. I never counted milestones. I counted hours, peaceful hours that were few and far between. We struggled like this for almost 2 years. I always knew something wasn't quite right, but I didn't know what to do, and no one was hearing me. I felt like everyone thought I was crazy, and they were dismissive of my concerns. Those years were lonely, and while I loved my little man immeasurably, I did not enjoy being a mom. I spent lots of times contemplating, when would it get better? And it can't be like this for everyone, can it? And am I crazy? Still, we persevered, and eventually we were able to enroll him in preschool, and once there, the stars seemed to align in our favor. From that moment on, we met all the right people at all the right times. It was because a very experienced teacher recognized some of those behaviors, and she guided us on a path that would lead to his autism and ADHD diagnosis. That adventure included a myriad of specialists, therapies, and hours of retelling everything I observed and knew about my son over and over. I advocated for him every single day since he was born to get where we are today. But we were lucky. For every family like ours, there are countless ones that don't know where to turn and how to even start down the road to a diagnosis and all the help that waits on the other side. Special needs parents live in a small and often self-isolated world. If we can help even a little, then we have to try. So let's get them out into the community to connect with others like me or Chris or Nicole so that they know that their fight is our fight too. That's for you too.
Diane Armstrong. No what? Diane Armstrong, are you out there? Okay. Next, Jessica Mikes, or Miller. Jessica Miller.
Hello. I also hate public speaking, but I'm going to do it too. So first, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to have a few minutes to speak with you tonight. My name is Jessica Miller, and I'm a resident here in Homer Glen, and this is my daughter, Charlotte. And we're here tonight because Charlotte has cerebral palsy, and we wanted to come out and show our support for the decision to recognize March as being Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. Thank you for doing this. It really does mean a lot to us. It's so important for the community to recognize that there are people who live with disabilities that are in the community. Any kind of awareness campaign, it gives a chance to learn more about a particular disability, but really it also gives a chance to ensure that people with disabilities have a voice and are being represented in decision-making, and that they have access to all the opportunities in the community. Charlotte is almost 12 years old, and when she was first born, she was born not breathing, and we didn't know what had occurred and what happened. And we also had a long stay in the NICU with unknown future and not knowing what was going to be her story. And let me tell you, this is a fighter right here. If you read her shirt that she designed for herself, it says, if you tell someone with cerebral palsy that they cannot do something, they will do it twice and take pictures. So she's been through, many hours of therapy, many hours of doing things that other kids didn't have to necessarily go through, with the bracing and all the other things that she's had to do. In the past, we've taken the opportunity during CP Awareness Month to talk to her classmates at school. It was always important to her that they would understand that she does understand things the same as they do. She just had difficulty moving her body, and that sometimes she would need help. And it was always important to her to tell them that not to baby her, but to ask first if she needed help. And she just doesn't want anyone to feel sorry for her. I asked her if she wanted to speak tonight, and as typical of any kid her age, she didn't feel very comfortable with that, and I'm going to respect that. But she was happy to have Homer Glen celebrate CP awareness, and she said it was okay for me to share. So I asked her what it is she would like people to know about having CP, and here's what she told me. Some things may take me a little longer. Some things might not get done the exact way you want them to. But don't not have me do something just because I have CP. Have me do the same things everyone else is doing. Just give me extra time and every tool I need so I can get it done the best I can. And to me, her words demonstrate so many important points. I mean, first of all, doing something differently or slowly does not mean inability to do it at all. And everyone deserves the chance to do things for themselves. And lastly, that accessibility is about removing barriers and giving people the time and the tools that they need to fully participate. So again, thank you so much for including Cerebral Palsy Month as something in our community, and for creating a new committee, because it's our hope really with continuing awareness that we'll keep finding more ways to help the community be as inclusive and as accessible to everyone as possible. Thank you.
Next would be Jessica Basili.
She'll be speaking for the Marion Village item.
Okay. Did you have something that you wanted to say, or?
Yes, about Marion Village, though.
That's all right.
Okay. Sorry. I wasn't prepared for tonight. It's a wonderful, emotional night. Oh, my goodness. I apologize for not being at the last meeting, but I just wanted to clarify there was a concern about the memory care being brought to Marion Village and the fact that it has not been shared yet with the residents. So we do approach this actually with a lot of caution. This is not the first time that we have tried to bring memory care into the community. We have tried several times and it has not come to fruition. So we want to be overly cautious with our residents and make sure that every check and balance has been done. We have not met all of our internal approvals. We still have our board approval to go through. And we still have some value engineering items that we need to make sure are done to meet the board approval. We obviously need this board approval, and we want to make sure that we are 150% this time when we do put this in front of our residents to get excited about that it will be done, and we will not have this level of service come to the community. So I just wanted to share our cautionary how we're going about this, and we will. We want to very much so introduce this to the community. We want to celebrate it. It's been a long, long time coming, and so our residents really want this to happen. So we don't want to disappoint them again. That's what it pretty much comes down to. So I ask that if there's any possibility to approve those variances, so we make sure that we cross this line, then we cross the line with our board, and that we're able to then share with our residents and our community that this indeed will happen this year for start of construction.
Well, we normally don't answer the questions. If you're coming up here and asking it right now, we look into it and find out exactly what it is. I'm pretty sure the last time we had this at the meeting a couple weeks ago, the concern was that nothing was shown to the residents to be able to get their word, their voice heard. And has anyone had the opportunity to do it yet?
No, and we will not do that because, again, it has been done too early in the past, and we have disappointed our residents by not bringing it that level of care and being able to bring that to fruition. So we want to make sure this time around that it's not preliminary, anything shown to them when it's not met all the approvals and all the internal review that we need to do. So we will be waiting until our board approves it and that we have the project within budget before we present and have all the residents be able to comment and give their opinions and look at the floor plans. So that's where we stand right now, unfortunately, because we want them to trust us for what we say we're going to do.
I understand that, but when it comes in for a variance, they're looking for the answers of what you're going to be doing too. So, I mean, as long as you've got everything you need put together and you come before the VJ and find out exactly what has to be done and what doesn't have to be done, and we're looking for variance.
Mr. Mayor, it's actually on the agenda tonight for approval or continuation.
We can continue it on. That's not a
Item
problem.
J5.
Okay.
I think she's addressing that, so I think you can continue this discussion and when we get to that agenda.
Okay. Okay. Well, that'll come up in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Then I'll give you a call back up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, is there a motion to approve the, Ms. Mendoza or Mr. Mendoza?
Hello.
Hello. You can take your masks off while you're up there.
Hi. Why was I called here?
Well, you signed up for public comment.
Oh, I think I just signed in. I thought I was just supposed to sign in. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's all right. I mean, no foul.
Is there anything you wanted to say? Now that you're up there.
Everybody gets a chance to talk now.
Okay.
That's a first.
Now, is there a motion to approve the amended standard operating procedures number 001?
Wait.
This one?
Gosh, you did.
Okay. I got it. Okay. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1, the accounts payable for the period of March 12th, 2021 through March 25th, 2021 in the amount of $519,768.06.
I so move.
Nope, not yet. One more.
Sorry. Everybody's anxious.
My papers are all screwed up, so just bear with me. Treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period of ending February 28th, 2021. Now, I need a motion.
I so move.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I'm still pulling myself together here. Trustee
Else you'll be
Suisse?
doing that.
Aye. Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so now that one's done.
Yeah, and that one's done. We're on 3.
Yep. Okay. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-012, an ordinance establishing an ability awareness committee for the Village of Homer Glen?
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
I'll second.
Trustee Backel? Discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
And Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the amended standard operating procedure number 001?
So moved.
Trustee Gray?
I'll second.
Trustee Suisse? Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is number 5. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-007, an ordinance approving 1, an amendment of the planned unit development with an exception to reduce the required parking from 267 spaces to 149 spaces. Site plan approval, and 3, a variance to exterior construction standards for certain real property located at the C3 General Business District at 15624 Marion Drive, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG2103PS.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Pazmino?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just make a clarification. At the last board meeting, this was before the board for consideration of approval, and then it was continued to the date specific, which is tonight's meeting. So you have 2 options before you. You can continue it again because they haven't met the additional requirement you added at the last board meeting, or based upon the information that's been shared by Marion Village, you can vote on it. But I just wanted to make sure to remind everyone that at the last meeting, it was continued to March 24th. This is why it's back on the agenda, because when you continue it to a date specific, it needs to be put back on there.
Okay.
Manager, was the April 14th postponed, it says postpone this item to the April 14th Village Board meeting, was that by the applicant, or maybe can we ask? Who put the new date on here to be postponed?
It's actually staff, because they didn't do the open house yet, so we kind of recommended to postpone to the next meeting, not knowing what Jessica had just mentioned at the meeting.
Yeah, so if I can just chime in, I was listening to what Jessica had to say in the sense of, you don't want to present this to the residents in an early stage. We only postponed it for the residents to be able to review it, which would be the open house. But I totally understand your point of view of, I don't want to prematurely show this to the residents and then plans change and they had their hopes on something and it goes awry. I'm understanding that, and I don't necessarily, I mean, I would love for you to still have an open house with the residents. I think it's important. I think it's important to be transparent, inclusive. But again, if we're holding this up simply for an open house.
Right.
But if I can interject there, I mean, to Jessica's point, I don't mean to be familiar, I didn't catch your last name, I'm sorry. We're not, the only thing we're being asked to approve here is a few variances on construction materials and parking spaces.
Correct.
So that's kind of a small hurdle. That's not really going to change the fact that you're going to add to your business portfolio over there. You can certainly tell your residents that. It's a matter of what they may be looking at is going to be a little different, and you should be showing them the renders. This is what the village board is being asked to consider to approve. We, you know, when we have these things come before us for a garage or a house or something in the neighborhood, we always ask staff to make sure that the neighbors who are going to be the most impacted go out and you know, you get their opinions on this. That's why we said these people in Marion Village, I mean, obviously they have a vested interest in that. They are the ones who are going to be looking at that. So we're not going to change your business model here at all. This is only about the finishes and about the parking spaces.
Agreed, good point.
Yes, you could adjust cost, though, which could possibly hurt the project and not bring it to fruition. So I think that's the concern, is we've been down this road a couple times before, right? And we prematurely brought it to the residents, got everybody excited, and then it didn't happen. So bringing it to the residents without our internal board approval, without the variances approved, without it in budget, we could be losing a lot of credibility by bringing it to them again, getting them excited. All those instances of what we've lost before, we don't want to have that happen again. So there's a lot of cautionary on our leadership team to be able to announce this wonderful project, and we will.
I get that, but I mean, you do have residents who have internet access, and at our last village board meeting, your entire packet was on our board meeting, as well as it was on the plan commission meeting. So any of them could have downloaded that and see the renders and see what we're considering. So it's not exactly like they're not aware of. It's not that they're not aware of this. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. But this is not, in the lockbox. So, at our last meeting 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was Trustee Rogers, who's absent tonight, who really was pushing for this. And it's a very valid point. The residents of Marion Village need to be asked this question. So, without getting to some sort of a standoff here, I think that the ball is definitely going to be back in Marion Village's court. You need to ask your residents. They're aware of this, just like the rest of the village is aware of it. It is public knowledge.
Yeah, and I was the second on that motion. I totally agree. Is the board decision waiting on these variances? Is your group waiting to go to the board with your decision until these variances are approved?
No.
What's the process, I guess?
Yes. So the board reviewed it in March. It was pushed until May because we were over budget. And during COVID time, we have census issues up and down, and so it was not approved, and now we're pushed to May board meeting, which is another reason why we don't want to announce to the community that this is coming, because once you announce something to them, they expect it to be delivered. So we're just cautious of this. And we can wait. We're definitely going to do the announcement. We're definitely going to get them involved through their resident councils, as we always do in all of our communities. We want their input. We want their opinion. It's their home, and it's where they're going to send their loved ones with their husband or wife if they start to decline, and we want to provide that service. But we also need to be cautionary because it's been introduced a couple times before, and we've had residents and families leave because we weren't able to fulfill our commitment of telling them that we're bringing in memory care.
Yeah, and I think the hang up, if I'm not mistaken, Trustee Gray, correct me if I'm wrong, if I recall correctly, it was really the construction standards that would be used on the exterior facade, and we wanted them to have an open house to at least understand what they're going to be seeing out the window.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that the issue was the variance per se.
It's not here.
Correct? I don't believe it was the variance that was the holdup. It was just the fact that the residents hadn't had a chance to take a look at it yet. The Plan Commission approved it. We all looked at the renderings. Now the renderings that you showed us have the materials, and the renderings are going to be what they're going to get if approved. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but it was based on the facade. It was based on the fact that you look out a window as a resident and it's going in your backyard,
right,
per se, and you're looking at this particular brick or this particular limestone, whatever materials they are.
And colors.
And colors. And I think that's the reason why we thought it was prudent to have the homeowners be able to view it. At the end of the day, I don't think the sticking point is the facade for us or the variances. It's more, if it were in my backyard, I'd like to know what it looks like. Mm-hmm. I'd like to be forewarned what's going up. I don't want a pink house behind me if it's at all feasible that I can prevent that.
Right, and it wasn't the additional services either, because I think we were all in agreement that this was a benefit for the village to have this type of, to have you increase the level and types of services that you're going to offer. It's just a matter of anywhere else in the village, we would ask the adjoining neighbors to, definitely get your opinion. And sometimes they don't show, but we have to put it out there that due diligence that, we need to gather that information. And certainly, that was probably an oversight on our part initially at Plan. We didn't really consider that as a typical neighbor, but it really is. But Trustee Rogers went to great lengths to point that out to us, and I think we were all in agreement with that then afterward. It was like, yeah, you're right, these people are right there, and we overlooked that. So, given the fact that Trustee Rogers isn't here to speak to it as well, I think that, I don't feel comfortable voting on this. I feel more than comfortable postponing it to any date we can to accommodate resident input. So that would be my input on it.
Well, the 14th of next month is.
Well, and I think we should, I don't know if we can only go to a date certain the next meeting. If that doesn't work for them, then we should probably find out from, because last time, I think we only had the architect here. Was that correct?
Right.
So, and he probably couldn't speak for your corporate.
He could not.
So, maybe you can enlighten us.
Yes, I would ask that we come back after we are able to get our internal Franciscan Ministry Board approval, which is towards the end of May. And then we're able, once we have that approval, we can present it to the community and to the residents for their buy-in, and then we can definitely come back for final approval.
And yeah, we would love to move this forward. I think we're all in agreement there. We just want to make sure that the residents are aware of what's going on.
But we can accommodate you in May. You tell us when you want it, because it's 2 meetings, second Wednesday and fourth Wednesday.
Yeah, it would probably be the 4th then, for sure.
And just
if
call
not
to
the
make
first
sure
part
that
of
we
June.
know, and then we'll get this thing rolling for you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could make a recommendation to do amendment to the motion and continue it to May 26th?
That's fine. If it needs to be changed, we can change it.
Do I need to, yes, in my motion? So amend my motion to table it till May 25th, 2021. Continue it till May 25th, 2021. I'll make that motion.
Is it 25th or 26th?
I thought I heard 25th.
26.
26th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's hard to hear with the mask on.
Why?
Hard to hear with the mask on? What, you listen through your nose?
I'm hard of hearing with masks on.
I think we're all tired. All right, then we're going to put it away until May 26th.
Need a second?
Trustee Pazmino had seconded the motion.
Oh, yeah, Trustee Pazmino, second.
All right, so then we would have, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Trustee Bacco.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse. Aye. Trustee Caprio.
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-013, an ordinance approving a variance to increase the total maximum size of an accessory structure from 800 to 1,500 square feet for the construction of a 1,344 square foot detached garage for a certain real property located in the R3 Single Family Residential District at 17520 South McCarran Road, Homer Glen, Illinois?
So moved.
Trustee Gray?
Second.
Trustee Pazmino?
Yep.
Discussion?
Is the petitioner here? Oh, I have a couple of questions.
Looks like you are going to talk.
Yeah, you get to speak.
My husband here can explain better about the building project.
Okay. Because you have an existing shed, so that's 2 separate buildings. VJ, is that, I thought we don't,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a shed, but how big is it?
Yeah, it's on the graphic. The shed is right behind the house, which is a separate detached structure.
Yes.
are we allowed to have 2 detached structures?
Yeah, we only count the total square footage, so.
Okay, oh, the square footage, okay. And you're just using this for storage and not a business or anything like that?
It's for our vehicles.
Okay.
And you're a hardship, right? Because the existing garage before burned down?
Right.
And you understand that, I can't remember exactly what page it was on, but it's on one of our pages here, that you cannot have 4 doors facing the street. Is that correct, VJ? You need to either come in for another variance or change that front elevation. Is that correct, VJ?
It's actually facing James Court, so it should be okay.
They can have 4 doors facing?
No more than 3 facing a public street.
Oh, a public street. Is James not a public street?
It is, they only have 2 in the elevation, 2 doors facing James Court.
Isn't it 4, is that 2 single doors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was 2 double doors. I'm sorry. I thought those were doubles. Okay. I'm done.
Is there any other questions? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse? Aye. Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Motion carries.
There you go.
You got it passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-014, an ordinance approving 1, a special use permit for outdoor seating associated with a permitted restaurant, an exception to reduce a required setback for a patio in a non-residential zoning district from 25 feet to 20 feet, an exception to allow 6-foot solid fence wall be required front yard in a non-residential district for certain real property located in the C1 neighborhood commercial district at 15905 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, subject to the following conditions. 1, the existing reciprocal parking and access easement between Lot 1 and Lot 2 of the Corso subdivision, PUD to be amended and recorded prior to the issuance of final occupancy.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
I'll second.
Trustee Backel, discussion?
Is the petitioner here? Anybody? Well, I would like to add to the motion, staff recommended that they use a darker color, and if we look at, where was it?
It's on the screen.
Oh, yeah, okay, attachment 5, like that dark brown, all the way the figure to the right is a little bit more classier, and I think that would work much better than whatever they were looking at, something with beige. And that's what I would recommend, a darker color like that.
Yeah, I think the petitioner actually said that the petitioner preferred example 2, which is on page 11 of our packet, which is the horizontal, but yeah, in the darker color. So I think that it sounded, from reading all of those highlighted portions, it sounds like they are in agreement with some of those things. Yeah. And it's good that we put that in there, that we agree.
Yeah, he just wanted that as a recommendation, just to opt out if it becomes too expensive, not as a condition, so that was his request.
No, I don't think that should be an option. I think that, a request, I think that should be part of that's a prime corner, and it's going to be, I think a darker color like that is going to look much better.
Well, he's talking about the composite material, which might cost double or triple. That was his concern.
Compared to what?
Compared to vinyl fencing.
I'm fine with the darker color. I don't want to pick and choose their style of fence, but the dark color, I agree.
No, I don't either. I do agree with Trustee Suisse that since it is on a public corner, we'll see it. So, I think the blending in is better with the darker color. The only thing I would say to the cost variance is that we'd have to see that. If they want to bring in two bids or something, if they find the one to be too cumbersome, I think that would have to be proven. That would be my thought.
Come back to the village board if it becomes too expensive and he wants to opt out.
Yeah, what are we talking about too expensive? A couple
$5,000
more, or are we talking about a five-fold increase?
$5,000 versus $10,000 or $15,000.
Again, if that is what the case is, then I think they would have to prove that, and then we could look at some materials. I'm only going on what staff is saying, that they recommend the solid materials because it'll wear better and longer in the long run, which is going to be a better development in the long run. It's going to be out there for years. They don't want to have to do the maintenance on it. We don't want to have to look at an unsightly development. So if for a small stretch we can get a better development, I think that's a far better solution in the long run. I would agree, though, that we don't want to be burdensome on them and make it, if it's a five-fold increase, then, certainly we would have to weigh that. Not having that in here right now, I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't think it's that hard a deal to put that in there and say, if you find it burdensome, come back and prove that to us.
I agree with you, Trustee Gray.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye, based on the darker color and coming back to us because we didn't change anything in the motion.
Right, so are we going to amend the motion, or are we going, what are we voting on, the original motion or the amended?
It has not been amended yet, so
Are we adding the condition?
We're going to amend the motion with the second condition of the darker colored fence, fencing. And if there's a price variance, that they should at least give us an opportunity to see that variance with the true quote.
I agree.
Between the two colors.
Okay, so trustee Capra, you're changing your motion,
I have, yes.
and,
And I'll resend my,
all right.
Matt, you got that motion, right, so I can refer back to you? Okay, thank you.
I could have
Okay.
shortened it a little.
So I'm going to go back to trustee Backel.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-015, an ordinance approving and adopting the official 2021 zoning map of the Village of Homer Glen? Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Trustee Suisse,
Second.
trustee Gray, discussion.
Director Gotti, I was looking at the 2020 and previous ones. There's no major changes, correct?
That's correct. There were no rezonings in 2020, so there were no major changes to the map.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-016, an ordinance amending the village code relating to water and sanitary sewer rates?
So moved.
That's trustee Gray.
Yes, sir. Bueller?
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Trustee Caprio. Discussion.
So who's this, Director Salamovich? I have one question. It says it should be noted that based on the village's IGA with the city of Lockport to allow connection to their sanitary sewer system, the village will be charged no greater than 85% of Lockport's non-discounted residential sewer rate. And I think in a few other places it mentions this residential sewer rate. Is there a commercial rate? And, I mean, should we be aware of that, or is it all just one rate?
They just have the one rate, but they do have it as, I believe theirs was basically a metered and a non-metered, which we're still doing that.
Yeah.
But it's
They don't have a
basically,
differentiation between a commercial and a residential, so it's basically all the same?
it's all the same.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to have some major spike later on. That was
Anyone
my
else?
only question.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next,
I did it on purpose.
is there a motion to approve a resolution to support of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus Community Solar's CS2 Clearinghouse Program?
I so move.
Trustee Suisse. Second. Trustee Pazmino. Discussion. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, approving the purchase of a new Dell PowerEdge R740 service from Current Technologies.
I so moved.
Trustee Caprio,
I'll second.
Trustee Backel, discussion.
I do have a couple of questions, and I know Sean is not here, right?
I'll try, I'll wing it.
Well, yeah, I come from technology, so Dell PowerEdge server is a great piece of equipment. I've priced these in the past. It seems a little pricey to me, but I'm sure we've gone out for other bids for this.
Yeah, so we did. We got a quote directly, and the quote we received was actually higher than the 28,000. And so that's why we're going through our IT provider, because they have a bigger bulk of buying power.
Sure.
And they were able to get the cost at a lower rate.
Was the same exact configuration?
It is, yeah.
Okay. And in the future, I'd like to, I love Dell products. HP comes in a little cheaper as it relates to pricing. I trust what Sean did here. I just wanted to make sure, I buy servers and equipment all the time. So.
Yeah, this was both Sean's, but it was also Current Technologies, who's our current IT consultant, recommendation.
And they probably do have volume buying power with Dell. Okay.
All right, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the new Dell PowerEdge R740 server with Current Technologies Corporation in the amount of $28,369.69?
Yes, I thought we already approved
Yep, we already
that. I did a motion on that.
I don't remember reading that.
Yeah,
so
that's okay.
Covered my rear. Is there any discussion?
Well, yeah, no.
We're done? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Caprio.
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Trustee Backel.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Okay. Number 12, is there a motion to approve ordinance 21-017, an ordinance adapting the Village of Homer Glen Employee Handbook, subject to review by the village attorney?
I so move.
Trustee Suisse.
I'll second.
Trustee Backel, discussion.
I think this looks great. You guys did a great job on it. Quite long.
That's, all the credit goes to Stacy. She rewrote the entire manual.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. I did read it all, and it is long, but it's very thorough and.
It's concise and
yes,
thorough.
it covers everything, so nice
Yeah,
job.
I agree, very well done.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Can't wait to see the podcast. Hear the podcast.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Caprio.
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Trustee Backel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, workshop.
Doing it on purpose.
Presentation of the draft fiscal year 22 budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Matt's going to put the PowerPoint up. It's the same format as we've used the past few years. This is a legal document. It's required by law that we pass this pass, approve, and have it filed at the clerk's office by April 30th. So we're not just doing this to be responsible, as we are. It is required by law. This is my 20th budget as finance director at the village. It is our 20th budget with a operating surplus forecasted. We've had 19 years of operating surplus spending. We have never spent more than we budgeted. So not only does the village prudently forecast their expenses and revenues, but it also manages at that level too. So I think the village should be proud of 2 decades of fiscal responsibility. And this is a pretty extraordinary budget coming out of the pandemic. So it's pretty good. So, okay. So our timeline is that at the next Friday we'll make this budget available for inspection, and we're going to run a legal notice in the paper that it'll be available for inspection, and we're going to try to have a public hearing at the next board meeting, and it will be presented at the second board meeting in April for voting consideration. Our standard letter is pretty much, the significance of this is on page 2, which says that this particular budget draft presents a $41,000 operating fund or general fund surplus. The total expense budget, including all 10 funds, is about $25.7 million. The sixth budget, the sixth fund listed on there is the Home Rule Sales Tax Fund. It was formerly the Debt Service Fund. We paid that debt off last year in December. We did some interfund borrowing to make that happen. We saved the village $450,000 plus. And now that fund really works as a restricted fund. It collects home rule sales tax, and it transfers the revenues to capital project and/or general fund. And we'll get to that later. Same amount of funds as last year. This is just a chart of all our funds, revenues and expenses. The significance, everybody wants to know what your total budget is. That's the bottom number in the lower right corner. Our expense budget is $25.6 million. About half of that is capital project. The rest is general fund operating. It's a pie chart of our general fund revenue, our 10 fund revenues. 67% is general fund. Home rule sales tax is 15%. MFT has grown because we've gotten a couple new MFT revenue in this past year. As I mentioned, our total expense budget was $25.6 million. Half of it is the operating fund, the other half is capital. So for those that like our charts, and there you go. Okay, the general fund, we anticipate the opening balance, fund balance, to be about $6 million. That's about 6 months worth of our operating expenses, which is the maximum level of our standard operating procedure for fund balances. So we're at our maximum. The difference between the revenue and the expense is the $40,000 surplus that I had mentioned. So we anticipate ending the year at about $6.6 million.
John, can you explain that really quickly about the maximum of our SOP?
Sure. SOP 2 sets the guidelines for fund balances. So in the underwriting world, good underwriting for a municipality would be anywhere from to have a fund balance with anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of expenses on hand in case of significant economic downfall.
So this
you
is
have a
that rainy
cushion.
day fund that we always hear the state of Illinois doesn't have. We have 6 months worth of operating revenue on hand at any given time. Is that correct?
That is correct. As you'll see a little bit later, when I show the detailed general fund, we're actually anticipating a surplus of $750,000 in this fiscal year. So that number is actually $750,000 higher. I want to come back to the next meeting and propose a sweep to the capital project fund for that. We've done that probably 5 consecutive years now.
And we do that because good accounting practices say you should have no less than 3 months, but you really shouldn't have more than 6, right? We're not a bank.
Right.
We shouldn't be holding money.
That's why we sweep it.
Right. So we should be putting that money to good use.
I wanted to mention, because this time last year, we were presenting a budget that looked just like this. And then a week later, I had to chop about $700,000 out of that budget, and that's what you approved. Coincidentally, we're going to come in this year at about $700,000 because we've done quite well with some of the revenues have done well.
Some notions out there that we're sitting on a pile of cash. This cash is really our buffer. It's prudent for us to have some money outside in case, like you said, we got hit with a pandemic a year ago and nobody knew what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah, we're not considered excessive at all. As a matter of fact, it's within our guidelines. So if you want to retain that A rating, that A bond rating, if you ever have to go out for funding in the future, this is what is a key, that you not only set acceptable ranges, but you manage to those levels too. So we do, and we have for a long time.
Right.
So the general fund's got a lot of initiatives in it, but I wanted to touch on some of the sales tax because we're coming out of a strange year because we actually had a COVID bump with sales tax because of the home improvement and such. So we were actually are reducing our forecast for this year. We did a 2-year average instead of just doing a COLA. The per capita taxes, such as the state income tax, the local use tax, the cannabis tax, motor fuel taxes, those are all set by IML and I use those factors, and the most recent one was February, and that's what this budget has in it. Item number 6 on here is the local motor vehicle tax. That was previously in the park fund, and its intention was to fund the park facilities program. Well, that's almost $700,000. So it was, so I wanted to pull that out of there because it was sucking down the capital for park development. And that really isn't the intent. And in most places, parks are departments of the general funds. So I think we're kind of maturing and seasoning out. So I've included that as in the general fund. So our general fund revenues are $12.2 million, and the bulk of it is sales tax and income tax. Property tax was the levy that was recently passed. We got the millage rate today, and when we did that forecast, we were projecting $57 per $100,000 of assessed value. It's actually going to come in about $45. So our assessed values have grown, which has diluted the impact to the average homeowner. So that's good. Go ahead.
Which you'll remember, we talked about that when we held our informational meetings on the transfer. Yep. That this was an estimate, but as the EAV grew, we knew the number would come down. So this is good news.
Good. It's great news.
Okay, the next is a pie chart of our revenues. So the road and bridge levy, by law, communities get 50% of the road and bridge levy. The incorporated entities in the road and bridge district get distributed the road and bridge levy based on their equalized assessed value. So we've been receiving about $1.4 million a year, and we were turning it over to the road district. This particular budget presents the village as bringing the road district in-house as a street department. So that's the way this particular budget reads. Next year, that road and bridge levy will go down significantly. If the merger goes through, that road and bridge levy will go down significantly because they'll only be servicing 18 miles of road instead of the 120 or 30 or whatever it is. As I mentioned, sales tax has been an anomaly. We had a bit of a COVID bump. So I did a 2-year trending to smooth it out because I'm just not sure that those home improvement facilities are going to be able to, there's only so much home improvement you can do. And boy, they've just done terrific. So I've kind of scaled it back a little bit. It's still great. It's still really good. Income taxes forecasted based on the Illinois Municipal League's forecast in February. So they're forecasting that to do quite well, as you can see from that chart right there. And we did great in 21 also.
This includes the latest coming out of Springfield, where they're talking about taking more of the LGDF.
We have not done any sweeps. We have not forecasted any state sweeps. They were talking about a 10% sweep on everything. Well, they do that as a machine gun blast to try to get what they want. Generally, it's something more restricted, more refined than that. I could see them going after use tax and succeeding, but not all 4 of the per capitas. We have not reflected any of that in here. We have contingency in here. We have some capital items in here. Those particular items hedge against that. The capital can be deferred to the 4th quarter just to make sure our revenues are okay. So,
do you know when you'll get firm guidance on what the state is going to do?
I don't know. No, I don't know. Things are occurring differently than they have been in the past. So I don't know. I know, there's some political, with the tiered income tax and such. There's a lot of things that are going on that are stirring the pot towards sweeps and stuff. So I don't know.
But we have the opportunity that we could push some capital expenditures into the 4th quarter, like you're saying.
Absolutely.
If we see that we might need to move some things around in anticipation of what might come out of Springfield.
Yes. If we find out that something's going to occur, I'll report back to you with a suggestion on what to defer, what to reduce, because there's a lot of initiatives in the budget too that we can potentially defer on. Okay. Most of these items are bigger ticket items. They're place setters, they'll require further board action. I was talking about per capita. These are the 4 or 5 items that represent per capita, meaning the state collects it and they redistribute back to the municipalities based on your population. It's about $195 currently, which is way ahead of any year that we've ever had here. I had a little sliver on there for the cannabis excise tax. The village does not impose a local cannabis tax. This is the state's cannabis tax that they redistribute back to communities. Generates $1,000 a month. So, but this is also why we want to, the census was deferred. This is the poster child for everybody should be counted. It matters a lot. Major expenses by category, and of course, public safety is on top. They've been that way since the existence here at the village. Personnel and benefits has grown quite a bit with the road district coming on. That used to be an intergovernmental agreement. Now it's real, personnel expenses, supplies, contractual services, capital. So this is a new appearance for this budget. It's just for your illustration. I did want to note that we paid off Myers and Menards sales tax incentive agreements. We're forecasting a little bit for the recent incentive agreement that you passed. So the Menards and Myers is freed up, about $450,000. So another real positive from the financial standpoint.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
The public safety, 4.5 million, that is strictly the Will County Sheriff contract?
No, we have some Opticoms in there.
Okay.
The adjudication expenses are charged there. This is draft 1. Draft 2 is going to change a little bit. I just got the revised contract cost for next year. The sheriff's agreement we're 1 year in arrears. We pay the actual costs 1 year after the fact. So it's coming in. I was told it was going to come in at 360. It's more like 380 to 400. I got the cost matrix today. I haven't been able to dig in, but they have 4, 5, 6 unions, and then sometimes they go 2, 3 years out of contract. So a lot of things can create a spike in contract costs, in cost of law enforcement. I haven't been able to dig in yet and ask specific questions on it.
And that specifically is the reason why I asked the question about that, because trying to figure out the escalator in the contract. Is it 7%? It would be on 4 or 5, but it's more like 3 or 4, I think.
No, it's over 9.
Oh, it's that much?
It was over 9, and on the next draft, I'll give you the history, and because we've done pretty well. We had a pretty sizable bump last year, but we had several years where we were pretty low, and that was because we went from an older law enforcement group to a younger law enforcement group.
Okay.
Consequently, their wages are less because we're paying what we pay it. We're just 1 year off.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the largest. I think they do great. It's just a fact of life.
I'm not questioning your work ethic.
Not to mention all the unfunded mandates that have come through that law enforcement has to do. So there's a lot of things that go into this contract. So it's reality.
Yeah, no.
It's expensive.
I asked the question just simply to figure out the number.
Okay.
John, I have a question. Do you prefer that we interject while you're talking, or should we just wait to the end?
I think you should. If you have a question, stop me. I'll try to address it right away.
Okay. Well, we'll have to go back on some of it.
As a matter of fact, as we get into the detailed pages, if you see something on there that looks out of whack to you, just stop and ask, and hopefully we can collectively answer your question.
Good.
Okay. Just another pie chart. Obviously, police contract was a large section, but Public Works is new on there, so that's it's changing. We're evolving. Onto the initiatives. As I had mentioned, we're bringing the local motor fuel tax into the general fund, pulling it out of the parks. The general fund also is going to include some program registration fees and also expenses. The current draft that you have does not have the program registration expenses, so that was my fault. Well, it'll be on the next one.
Hey, John, I had a quick question.
Sure.
For that first one, it looks like we changed, so the motor fuel tax now goes into the general fund. What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, so the local motor fuel tax is estimated at about, let's say it's $500,000. It's a shade under $500,000. Its intent was to fund the park facilities maintenance. That's close to $700,000. So this year, currently, there's 2 departments in the park fund. There's a park facilities that's about $600,000 or $700,000, and there's park development. So in addition to the local motor fuel tax, there's also developer contributions that are restricted to park development. So we were, because the motor fuel tax was not covering the facilities portion of it, it was getting subsidized with park fund equity and developer contributions. And then also, going forward, the park staff is going to have CDL licenses, and there's going to be a lot of cross tasking with the street department and the park department, and that's general fund.
Gotcha. All right. Makes sense, thanks.
Okay. We were fortunate enough to increase the special revenue, the special event fund up from $100,000 to $150,000. That's seed money for the expanded list of special events. Last fiscal year, the one we're in right now, I mean, we didn't have the festival, so traditionally we've been very fortunate. We've been very successful. Generally, it increases the special event fund balance to do more initiatives. Didn't happen this year, and we're growing it. So I thought we should, it seemed prudent to increase the transfer, the seed money for those events to occur.
And that amount will follow what the chart of special events that we approved last month or whatever.
Yes, that's correct.
And who oversees that? Would that be Matt would oversee on how some of that money is used instead of staff saying, oh, well, we want to do this and we're going to buy this?
Sure, those expenditures would still be pursuant to the purchasing policies that are already on the books of staff, and managers would oversee the individual purchases and contracts for each of those events.
Good. Okay.
Doesn't the board approve the calendar of events?
Yeah, you already did.
The calendar we already did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's in the budget, is the calendar of events.
Okay.
There may be a little place setter because there's always other things come up. So we might have a place setter for something else, but the board would be involved with approving that.
Go ahead, Keith.
The only thing I'd like to add to that, to Sharon's point, is that, it's a fair amount of money, and we leave it to to either staff or to some of the committees to do some of those programs. And, while we approve the whole roster of events, certainly, and I know some of them are new, so we don't have any historical data, but certainly by next year, we should probably be putting a number to those as well, an estimated budgeted number, so that we know that this line item that we're creating in the budget next year has a breakdown over these 20 roster projects.
Yeah, we do have that information, we can provide.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that when we approved the roster of events. So, if there was some logic in that, certainly we should be given that, and definitely make sure it's in next year's budget. But if you have it this time, you should probably send it around to all of us too, so.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? As someone who was I was not on the board when the last time that we had a fest. So I just have a couple questions. And now Carlo is not here, but that's okay. Maybe John, you can answer them. What does the fest typically cost us to run?
The budget for the upcoming festival is $172,000.
What do we?
This year I have an extra $14,000 in for the 20th anniversary celebration. Generally, I budget the expense budget and the revenue budget are identical. I budget a break even. This village has been very, very fortunate to create surpluses from those festivals. Even with bad weather, they've done quite well.
So that was my question. So this is not a losing situation for the village?
No, someday you'll have a really bad blowout, but that's reality. But we have not, and so I do a break-even projection when we do the budget.
Thank you.
Also remember, you guys adopted the sponsorship program as well. The sponsorship program, excuse me, I'm eating a cookie, brings in a lot of money too to offset the cost of the special events as well.
So just continuing down with some more initiatives at the admin department level. So we have $40,000 for additional mailers to the newsletters because we're trying to get community involvement, so it makes sense. We carried forward the $25,000 Laserfish document retention software program. That's carried forward from the previous year. We had $5,000 for this new iWork software that's going to allow us to do online permitting and licensing, sign permits and such. So we currently, the building department currently uses it already. Seems to be working quite well. And then we budgeted 25 grand for a survey, which I believe hasn't been done in quite some time, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so the last time you did the National Citizen Survey was 5 years ago. It's recommended that that survey is redone every 5 years so you can benchmark where the community is. That's obviously just a place setter. If the board decides to do this at a later date, this will have to come back to board for approval.
And then we carried forward the signage from last year. It's split between 3 different funds. So the wayfinding is in the motor fuel, and then I think the capital project fund has a balance of it. So, but it is a carry forward. The last 2 items are public safety. We know that's out of date right now. That estimated cost is actually going to go up $380 to $400. The Opticoms are new. That came out of Public Safety Committee. Park Facilities Program, there's, this is where we're going to do some repair to the Stonebridge tennis courts. They requested a part-time horticulture / arborist. And they have some equipment, some attachments to their maintenance equipment for $4,000 and a small vehicle for accessing trail maintenance of $15,000. And there again, the signage is rolled over. The Public Works, which is the new department, I want to point out that's not my budget. That is actual data from the Highway District. I used a 2-year average with the cost of living. As you'll see it, because I felt much more comfortable using actual data than something else. We did budget a new snowplow. That'll be something that could be deferred. We had some resources, so we thought it'd be prudent to go ahead and put it in. Doesn't have to happen, but it's currently in. It would require board action if we were to move forward with it. Economic development has this $40,000 for. Previously, it was the facade and sign loan program. It's been around for at least 5 years. We've never had a taker. The Economic Development Committee wants to make it more robust, make it more useful. Right now, nobody's using it, so they're going to bring forward a recommendation to make a grant program for facade improvements and non-conforming sign compliance, about 20 grand a piece. It's a place setter. The board's going to be engaged in that process as they bring it forward. And then the other category, we wanted to continue with these great decorations we've had that have been so nice to see all the people out there. That's $25,000. We budgeted $15,000 for Channel 6 camera and audio equipment. And then,
John, before we go off that page, I have one question on bullet point 5 under park facilities. $15,000 for a Toro GTX vehicle for trail maintenance. Well, I know we need to keep up with all of our trails and we'll need equipment for that. Something that I've always said to Village Manager Freiling, and I'll make sure that Acting Village Manager Walsh understands, is that I don't know why the word Toro is in there. That's very brand specific, and I've always said that we need to make sure that we're looking within Homer Glen. We now have Shorewood here, which does a great job for the community. And I want to make sure that we keep as much as we can local. If it's something that couldn't for some odd reason, then we need to know that why that is. But so if Toro is one of their brands and that's going to be purchased, they're great. But anytime I see something like that, you know, I want to make sure that it stays here.
Sure. Okay, that's a good point. I agree. And then continuing on is the detailed line-by-line budget for the general fund. This is where you'll see the trending. The column on the far right is the requested budget. The one just left of it is where we anticipate finishing this fiscal year, and then we have 2 years of actual trended data. Most of budgeting is done with trend analysis. Not so much revenues, big revenues, but the smaller things are trended data. I can only say on this particular page that the property tax is brand new and the locomotive fuel tax is brand new. If you were to subtract those items out of that 9.584 million, you're going to be right on line with where we've been in the past. So nothing unusual. All these particular categories really trend out well. Not forecasting much change in the fees and license and permits or fines. On page 2, interest income, I just got a quote on a CD, 17-month special promotional rate, 0.3%. Not even collateralized. We couldn't even get it. So when I have these CDs, you know, 1.75 CDs falling off the table, it's a heartbreaker. So obviously we're gonna, you know, we at one point were drawing in 200,000, 250,000 of interest income. It's going to go down to 20, but that's just the byproduct of, you know, 2% mortgages and 2.5% mortgages and stuff like that. So I did put it
on those CDs. You ladder those CDs, I would imagine. Right?
Yes, you know, I haven't. You know, they're just not enough anymore right now. So they're not. We haven't been reinvested in them because they're just. I can't put. I can't go out 36 months on a 0.4.
No, that's what I was going to say. You don't want to tie it up too long.
No, we have a couple other high-paying insured pooled accounts that pay what a 17-month CD pays. Okay. So. This is our second year of the wellness program, so it's a win-win because as we follow the criteria for their wellness program, you know, theoretically that, you know, we could hopefully avoid any significant medical issues down the line, so, you know, which saves some premium. Village pays 80% of the premium, so that wellness program is $8,000 revenue, and then a little further down that page, there's a corresponding $8,000 expense. It's an in-out wash, but it is a win-win. Anything to get people doing biometrics and stuff like that, it just is a good thing over time.
John, does that program come from the village's health insurance program, or is that
Yes.
something separate?
That's correct.
And then that entire amount gets reimbursed back?
It comes back to us via check, and the Wellness Committee, all the staff is involved in this program, so they have a Wellness Committee and try to spend it on wellness-related expenses. So,
okay.
But the real deal is in getting people to do stuff for their health.
So there's certain thresholds in the wellness program. With this, last year was the first year we participated.
Yeah, because it's fairly new, right?
Yeah. And so the way it works is if we get a certain amount, a percentage of employees who sign up to participate, including the blood draws that we do, which checks their cholesterol and all those other things, then we get like, is it $250 an employee or something back? There are certain thresholds, like certain levels that you try to reach. And if you meet your goal, then Gallagher Insurance cuts you a check to reinvest back into the wellness committee. We have a committee made up of employees who then determine what the wellness program and what those things are going to be offered to the employees back. So this next year we'll do the blood draw again. Actually, we'll have more people because we'll have the public works department. So we'll even have more people participate in those type of screenings, health screenings.
And it ranges between $50 based on your results. You can get $50 per employee up to $350. So for our first year, we got the maximum amount.
Yeah, that's a big
You
deal.
have to meet
First year.
certain criteria in order to get that. So we
Oh, that's good.
did everything.
And the money you get back, is it restricted what you do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be poured back into,
Yeah, they have to approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where, if you have a question on a particular line item, stop me, because I'm just going to go over just anomalies, okay? So on page 3, the consultant services is $75,000. So we had to go out and get new software for payroll because of the road district, potential road district merger. I couldn't handle it with the existing stuff. So it was a 3-year deal. There's a little bit of setup cost in there, so that's $25,000. There's a survey in there for $17,500. So you'll see that's up over the trends from the past.
I have a question on the bottom. The newsletter, communication pricing, that's at $40,000, and then it says communication again?
Yes. So that newsletter communication is for print communications. That's in addition to the newsletters that we've sent out to the whole community. There'll be other smaller newsletters. And then that second line item at the bottom, community communications, that is where we had that initiative for the 15,000 in additional cameras. That's to kind of help bolster our for Channel 6.
Oh, for 6,
and
okay.
help include some more upgrades to the boardroom for meetings.
We're also going to get $15,000 back for the first time from Comcast because we have the Channel 6. They collect a fee from everyone who has Comcast, and then we get that back, and we're able to reinvest that money back into the Channel 6 program.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, at the top of the next page is the end of admin, and I wanted to point out that we had $30,000 in for office capital outlay. It's for the build out of the back room. John Robinson's group has been doing tearing the floors out and putting new walls in. Probably saved $30,000 already, but to finish it, we're forecasting 30. And
Any trustee offices?
It's cold back there. So, and then the signage is 30. That was carried forward from the past. The $4,430,000 for public safety, that's going to be increased by the latest number. Page 5 is the building department, and it was very status quo. No real new initiatives. Staffing levels are the same, so the numbers trend out well. There's nothing really to report on other than it hits its budget, and no significant increases in the building department. On page 6, you have the new park facilities, and what I did is I migrated the old park facilities department from the park fund, and the numbers, the object numbers, the last 3 digits are identical. So if you wanted to see the history, you could go to the park fund and see they're identical. So this is from John Robinson's budget, and I talked about the initiatives. You know, he had some equipment, that he typically needs just to continue to do the grass cutting.
So John, let me ask you, what is this particular portion of the budget going to look like next year? How is it going to break out in the public works? Is it still going to have a breakout of public works and a breakout of parks, or are we just going to see?
So initially I thought that we would combine the parks department and street department payroll together initially, but it puts the measuring of the street department at risk. I won't really know how it is. There's too much going on. So for next year, I suspect that the Parks Department payroll and benefits will be in the street department, and the only thing that will stay in the park facilities is repair and maintenance, the supplies, not payroll. Everything but payroll.
So traditional legacy, what we've been seeing, we'll still see that in the Parks Fund, but we'll see and that makes sense. The labor is going to be shared, hopefully.
Yeah, so you'll see, so the personnel expense category will go to 0, and the Parks Department, which is, I'm sorry, the Street Department or Public Works is the next department, will increase by that much.
Okay.
Okay? And that's on the bottom of page 7. I'm using their data. Fortunately, I was able to get it, and it's just 2-year average with a COLA. So, because they had a horrible winter. That's with the snows that they had, the salt, and all. That's what I mean by horrible. It's just, that particular department's going to go along and then have a bump, and it's the nature of it.
So let me ask you a question about that then, too, knowing that you know, the vagaries of the way a season can happen. What is our contingent going to be should we be hit with a really nasty, I mean, we had a bad winter right now, but really it was 1 month where we had a lot of snow. What if we had that for 4 months and we went beyond our budget numbers? Where are we going to pull in for extra overtime or extra salt or things of that nature?
So that's why I used 2 years of actual.
Okay.
So I had a little smoothing of it, because, you know, it's hard to forecast a worst case scenario because you put other departments at risk, you know, them all of a sudden, you know. So, because we do have a contingency line item for the unknown. So we'll just have to kind of watch it and see. We never go super lean on the expenses. We're pretty tight on the revenues, but we're pretty fair on these numbers. These aren't super tight. We should be able to make these numbers. Okay. I did want to point out that the Public Works, you know, just for the first year, the road resurfacing program is going to be paid for out of MFT. Next year, it's coming back into the general fund. It's a $1.2 million road resurfacing project. I didn't get the final numbers yet, but that's in MFT. Next year, it's because the road district program, you know, it was running at, you know, 4.5 million. So, you know, we're not nowhere near that.
So you guys will have to make the decision on how many road miles you want to do once we get the bid back.
So if you look at page 9, it'll show that the you know, requested budget for Public Works is $2,970,000. That does not include the $1.4 to $1.6 million road resurfacing and engineering for the road resurfacing. That is more realistic with what you've been getting.
And just for reference for the page numbers, we have 2 separate, with the slideshow is 27, and then there's 9 up in the corner.
Sorry.
For the budget, so just so you know, we're on page 27 in the bottom, 9 up on the top.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. These looks, so.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Going back to 26 then, what okay, go back to 26. Okay, so you see the projected line items, and then you see the requested budget 2022.
Yes.
So the projected is a lot smaller, so why is it all showing zeros? You know, like there's no variance, there's no increase there or decrease there. You know, because you're projecting at 1,600 and then all of a sudden your budget request is 12,000. So wouldn't that show like a 10% more increase? You know, how do you work, how does that work?
I think the math is that it's taken the requested compared to the prior year's budgeted.
The prior year's actual?
Yeah.
Because the prior year's actual is 0.
Well, like for contractual service, the top of page 26 shows the contractual service category at $568,634. That's 60% of the budget from last year, the $1,425,000. I think it might be. Okay, I believe that's the math here on this.
There's no trending data. If there's no trending data, there can't be an increase or a decrease.
Correct. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Okay. So on page 27, we talked about the plow. We put that in there just in case, you know, if we need it. I'm not sure we're going to need it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know.
Based on the information that Mike DeVivo shared with us, he was going to purchase 2 snow plows, and then he pulled that back. There are 2 that are of the older quality. He's starting to have more repairs that need to be done. If you guys do decide to purchase the snowplow, though, there's a 6-month lead time to get it ordered and outfitted. And so that's just something you need to remember.
Mm-hmm. So, and when we're talking about snowplow, we're talking about the entire truck.
Yes, that's
It's not just the plow.
No, it's that's why there's 6 months lead.
Okay.
You buy the truck and then you work with a separate contractor to then equip it with the equipment.
Okay. The Economic Development Department is pretty much status quo, except for that that $40,000 facade sign, non-conforming sign. Other than that, it's really the same. Although last year we did that loan program, we're starting to get, in the last month, we've gotten 4 or 5 people paying on it. Also at the last meeting, we extended the due date to May of next year. So they're still paying on it, which is good to see. Planning and zoning, I think the only thing different on that one is the consultant fee of $15,000 is for the iWork program to take online permits for signs. On page 29, EMA trends, there's nothing unusual there, except on page 30, there's a budget of a request of $20,000 to replace like a 17-year-old Explorer. So he doesn't know what he's going to get in place of it, probably as much as he can for that budget amount, but it's a place setter to replace a very old EMA unit. And then the other category is where we have the repair and maintenance at $95,000 near the bottom right corner is the roof, $65,000 for this roof, and some door frames, $15,000 for door frames. Everything else in that line item is recurring, but those are 2 big anomalies. And then on page...
You're talking about the roof on this building?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, because there was a big jump from 12,000 to 90-some thousand there.
And do we know, you guys have had it assessed?
Yeah. And
Is it at the end of its serviceable
Yeah,
life?
it is, and there's a number of leaks.
Are there? Okay.
So we thought it's best to just replace the whole roof and go out to bid for it.
You should call the guy that fixed it in the first place.
Pardon me?
You should call the guy that fixed it in the first place. Well, it needed work at that point. He sealed everything up. He lives here in Homer, and he did a great job, and he was very cost-effective.
On page 31, the other expenditures continue, of course, with the pending merger and bringing on millions of dollars of equipment and doubling our staff, especially with drivers. They have a different risk point, so our liability insurance is going to go up quite a bit. That's not a surprise. So it's the way of the world for street departments. It also shows that we paid the incentive agreements. So we had a little bit of room with the resources. So I budgeted a $100,000 equity sweep to the capital project fund, and also the special events fund for $150,000. So what happens if some bad things happen? We have a $150,000 contingency and the $100,000 sweep. Those things don't happen until the end of the year. So that's $250,000 of flexibility for either escalated expenses or reductions to revenues.
Plus, we could always put off a couple of the capital expenditures too.
Correct.
If we needed to, right?
And then you can see that the forecasted surplus is $742,000. The next meeting, I'm going to bring forward a memo that we've had for many years to request a equity sweep to the capital project fund. This is a grid that was, I think it's second year for this, shows the head count, employee head count by department and by category. And for the most part, it's plus and minus, plus and minus. We've gone through the park and rec with the flow chart, and we're going to have the same. We're proposing 2 interns, one for admin, and then one is going to be split with the planning and zoning department and also the economic development department.
We had 2 last year too, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
You just had trouble with the summer interns for parks and stuff, though, didn't you?
We haven't. This year they all came back.
Oh, good.
So we didn't have to do any recruitment,
Yeah.
which was awesome because we had such a hard time to fill those positions. And George wants to move it along.
I will, because we talked about most of this. So special events, now you're going to see beginning balances, and so really the budget summary is really what you want to see. We're going to start the year with 20, we're going to finish with 25, and then the revenues, that 172.8 is actually the budget expense. We have the transfer, sponsorship, On the expense side, I added $14,000 to the base festival cost for the 20th anniversary. Salaries is a carryover. And we'll get you the list, the calendar that shows all of the forecasted revenues and expenses for the special events, calendar year 2021.
Yeah, and you know what, just a note, and this was something that I had been saying when I was on Fest, and I handed over to Carlo, and I thought they should have kept going with, but that $14,000 that you put in there extra for the Fest, for the 20th celebration, I really thought that should have been more out of the, either out of the board's discretionary fund or out of the general fund, only because having sat on that committee, they worked their tails off to put that on, and getting to a break even is a great thing, you know, it's a sigh of relief, but you generally, that committee had, or that event had turned a small profit, which was always nice. And I always said, I think you're right, the committee was right in saying that we need to put on a splash for the 20th anniversary, but I didn't think it should negatively reflect on their committee. This is not that they're running a deficit event. It's that the village has decided that we want to kick up our game just for this one time.
And it's concurrent. It's happening at the same time.
Right.
Because I told Sue, I thought, we need a separate line. She goes, well, it's happening at the same time.
It is, but like I said, I just feel the need to make that statement that, you know what, if these numbers bear out the way you have them forecasted, it would look like a $14,000 loss, and that's not the case at all.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah, it's fair. I can move it down.
No, I'm not saying you need to, John. I've been saying that all along, that I didn't think it should reflect negatively on that committee.
You know, we, on page 38, we can move it down into community events and activities and just show it as part of the calendar. And that way, it's a net zero on the festival.
Yeah, that was discussed.
Let's do that. Let's do that. It'll be cleaner then, okay?
If you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, I'm not on there anymore, but I know that I know the great strides they go to make sure that festival comes as close to it as possible. Right.
So the environmental fund is the next one. It's pretty status quo. It's $40,000 to start the year with revenues and expenses. It's going to finish at about 38, which is within the fund balance guidelines. It has essentially the same type of activities it's had in the past. I think we're due for the household hazardous waste and computer recycling, so nothing's new there. It's all status quo from previous years. Water management was new last year, and we actually got a recapture fee of $275,000, so great starting fund balance for that. And so it's primarily going to be to build the sanitary sewer consumption and maintenance. So it's going to evolve into something pretty significant. It's not yet, but it's going to. And the money's there, and we'll continue to get recapture and impact fees from it. So that's good.
So Mike, I assume that $275,000 is born out of the rates that we all talked about here, where you kind of lost us in the middle and stuff, and all of that worked?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. The next fund is the motor fuel tax fund.
Oh, John, I just have a quick, for my own, going back to 49, just the maintenance on the lifts. Where is that lift station located?
Mike would know that one.
It's actually part of, it's on the, it's Pantry lift station, it's actually on the Bankston property.
It's on Bankston, okay, I thought it was further.
We have easements, it's for the drainage, so it's actually a drainage, a storm lift station.
Okay, I forgot where that was. Okay, thank you.
So motor fuel tax fund is where we get the local, the state per capita motor fuel tax. There's a couple other new motor fuel taxes that are also similar in nature. This is a capital project fund. We build up funds to do pretty significant events, although we do pay for traffic light, electricity and signals and stuff like that, but predominantly this is a capital project fund. So if you flip to page 54, you'll see what we're proposing to do. Just for this new year, we're going to do the road surfacing program out of that. It's in here at 1.4. It's probably going to be a lot less. It's probably going to be 1.2, and the engineering is probably going to be 75, not 200. So we'll pick up some savings on draft 2. Line 8 is incorrect. That's not a traffic study. That was the right-of-way engineering. So I'll fix it on the next draft.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, okay.
So, you know, the top 3 or 4 items are new. We have the 151st Street, Phase 2, with the right-of-way acquisition, so it's really starting to pick up.
This Opticom maintenance, is that truly maintenance, or is that the addition of the 2 that we talked about earlier?
No, that's maintenance. The public safety's buying them. It's a qualified MFT expense.
But it is the purchase.
It's the purchase of 2 more, right? This is, it says maintenance, but it's not maintaining the existing ones, right? It's the 2 new ones, okay.
Okay.
Look at that.
Shoot.
You just got the look.
You just,
He
ask
messed
him.
up his written.
I only know what he tells me on some of these things. So home rule sales tax, previously to the debt service fund. On page 58, remember we did that interfund loan. So we had to borrow $963,000 from the capital project fund to retire bonds, save about $450,000. Worked like a charm. And then what we're going to do with this SOP2, the fund balance guidelines, is I'd like to recommend that this particular fund maintains a 3-month balance, 3 months worth of annual sales tax, home rule sales tax is a fund balance. So that's what I did here. 821 is about 3 months worth of home rule sales tax. It's good. It's a good foundation for going forward. Hate to see you spend it all at once and then miss your mark next year. So I think this is a really safe thing. Next year it might go up to 900, whatever. You'll be able to transfer everything out going into the future. Okay? Because the fund balance is really just going to change a little bit.
Is it going to just be the previous year's HRST? Or
yeah, so
an average or anything? Or?
So if you flip it forward a year, we're going to have like 2.8 or 2.9 of home rule sales tax with potentially 2.7 million of capital project transfer. And the ending balance will be 900,000.
Right.
Okay?
You guys are going to have to amend your SOP for that, though.
Right.
Yes. Park and Recreation Fund, it's really the Park Development Fund now.
Does that SOP have to be amended before this budget's adopted, or can that be anytime?
I'm gonna bring it to you at the next meeting. And
The amendment to the SOP?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So this, what do we have here? So the revenues are the restricted developer contributions. Remember, we talked about we were kind of subsidizing that with against the facilities costs, so now it won't happen. So 60,000 of projected revenue. The initiatives are the Heroes Trail West Extension for $525,000. Currently not grant funded, but we're going to try to get some grant funding on that. And then we have a place setter of $250,000 for park improvements or replacements. Place setter to be really settled at a later time as to what you're going to do with
Yeah, so
it.
you guys need to start looking at your existing parks and figuring out which equipment needs to be replaced. So you're not all having to replace stuff at one time. So this is a place setter for you guys to then have that conversation and make that policy decision on which park is in need of repairs or refurbishment or replacement of equipment. And this money can be used for that.
I'd also like to add that, you know, it'd probably be, I'd like to add some language that says for the first bullet item, the budgeting 525 for a Heroes Trail West extension, that
Pending?
if we either get grant money.
Pending grant approval?
Well, no, not pending grant approval, but if we get grant money or if we come in under budget, that money gets swept down to line 2 and we increase the amount of money for neighborhood parks.
Without a doubt,
improvements.
without a doubt.
So we keep all of that money within that pool, but we just use it for neighborhood parks. Instead of just kicking it back like to the general fund.
Well, that's the beauty of getting rid of the facilities portion of this
Right.
fund. Now it's true development.
Right.
So
But
it
I'd just
will in
like to
fact
see
do
that
that.
in there, that if we either have a savings, if we're under budget on the actual building of it out of our own pocket, or if we get grant money that offsets it, that we take that and we increase the neighborhood park portion.
Okay, we'll have to enhance that a little bit.
Anybody else?
Okay. Capital Project Fund, quite a few initiatives there. Item 1.
Let's go flying.
Item 1 is the sanitary sewer extension. And this actually it would qualify under the American Rescue Act stimulus that we're potentially going to get. So,
So that's the $3.1 million that we've been notified of. That's going to come through the second CARES Act money. We're not sure how it's going to come to us, whether it's going to come through the state to the county or from the state directly to local municipalities. But they also have restrictions on what you can use it for. Replacing lost revenue is one of them. Obviously, we were very fortunate to not have that. The other one is public infrastructure, but not streets is not permitted. So a lot of these capital projects that you're looking at in terms of extensions of additional utilities to serve future areas of the village, you can actually use that money on this. That's not factored into this right now, but it could be.
right.
And it's going to free up this money.
There was another layer for public safety. I think there was 3 layers. We didn't meet the first one. Third one was definitely something we could obligate projects to make sure that we get the money, because the state's going to fund it. They can claw it back if you don't spend it correctly. So I don't have it in here as a revenue yet, but I think the next draft is going to show the American Rescue stimulus in here, in the capital project fund.
Inclusive of cameras for public safety for parks?
I don't know. You know, they're still refining what the guidelines are. I don't think anyone really knows, and we don't know what other restrictions the state or the county might put on it.
From an administrative standpoint, we want big projects.
Well,
we're going to do this and this.
Well, no, I know, and this is not that big, and I'm sorry, I don't want to read it.
Yeah.
But just keep note of it, that we did want to do facial recognition and all these other things.
That's not for next year.
No, I know, at some point though, in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so the facial recognition is something that we're still working with our legal on. There's been some challenges to the facial recognition software by like the ACLU and other places where the courts have ruled that there's very restrictive uses in how you can use that software. It may not be worth the investment if you can't use the software.
Right, obviously.
So Eric's looking into that for us.
And Trustee Caprio, we have Initiative 7 here includes money for additional cameras, depending on how that plays out. Facial recognition, that could be spent on Goodings Grove Park or some of the other neighborhood parks that have been kind of vandalized in the past. So that's where that number comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just continuing on the list, we still have a preliminary number on the cul-de-sac. It's 1.6. I think we'll be getting new numbers on that. I don't know if we'll.
Bid right now on that.
We have $750,000 of grant funds to be applied towards that project, so that's great. Item 3 is this capital contribution for the other governmental agencies that are part of the road district. It's a to-be-determined amount yet. We don't know. It's being negotiated. We had some sidewalk work, Bell Road, 151st to 159th.
That's in conjunction with Will County's Bell Road project.
The streetlight retrofit program, plus we're also going to get about 21 grand from ComEd on that. Another extension of the sidewalk, 151st and Martingale. And we have the cameras with the software on here. And then the last one is some more sidewalk work. So that is all of the initiatives for the capital project fund. It gets its money via transfer. It doesn't have a designated revenue. All of the money essentially in the future is going to come from home rule sales tax. That's really where it got its money from in the first place anyway. All these sweeps from the general fund were from the home rule sales tax in the early days. Tree replacement, status quo. They're place setters. We're just hopefully the program continues to thrive and we can get more trees to the residents. I didn't want John Robinson to be hindered by an amount. I told him, make it 75. I'm sure it'll come in way less, but there are resources to do tree replacement at that level. Of course, it would require board approval. And then the bond fund is the last one. And if you go to page 79, there you go. So we start the year with about $5 million. We got a lot of big work going on here. So potentially $4.6 million worth of work, bringing the fund balance down to $393,000. After 10 years, we're bringing this thing down to almost nothing. But this Fitterman Creek Road extension also might be an American Rescue Act project. Those two projects that this one and the other one, will pretty much obligate us for getting that $3+ million of American Rescue funds. That's just for now. You know, we could tag something else, but I think that's a possibility. Stormwater improvements continue on. We have 2 different years in there. I think we have the wrap-up of 2019 and then next year's amount.
I have a question for Mike about this Lower Des Plaines. Is that the same as that Hickory Creek thing? Because that's...
Yeah, what had actually happened was there were 2 groups. There was the Hickory Creek Watershed Group, and then there was the Lower Des Plaines that started much later. Ultimately, what the Hickory Creek was more of an isolated area, that it was just more for Hickory Creek. The Lower Des Plaines kind of encompassed a much larger area, which also included Hickory Creek. So the Hickory Creek group voted to basically disband and basically shift over to the Lower Des Plaines instead, because they were doing a much broader area and basically doing repetitive areas. So that's what that is for. So the Hickory Creek Watershed Group no longer exists.
Last time I remember the dues were like 5,000, then went 7,000, now it's like double.
Yeah, we haven't joined yet, but we're just budgeting for what the potential could be.
John, I had a question, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I don't know if it's for John or for Mike. For the 159th Street improvement signage, the 80,000, are those for the gateway sign?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have any other questions, you can contact me, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can with an answer. I want to thank the department heads and Matt Walsh for helping with the budget, and I wanted to say I was so happy I had an opportunity to work with Carrie for a couple years, and she'll be sorely missed. I thought the budget was so good that I thought she might change her mind, but she said no way. But she's been terrific to work with, and we were really fortunate to have her for the time we did.
Yes.
And I wish you good luck.
Here, here. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we're out of here. Thank you.
You might have to leave half at least. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. These worse than all that topic of... No, she was out. She wants to get...